You're listening to another Local Voices interview with Rachel Steele here on 94.7 KPIP, Fayette's nonprofit local educational radio station. I'm here with Hope Tinker talking vaccines. It is time to get your vaccine, and we're here to find out who can get it and where you can get it. First, Hope, thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, Rachel.
First, let's talk about the COVID vaccine. Who should get the COVID vaccine?
Well, about everybody should get a COVID vaccine, in my opinion. And there are new recommendations for updating your COVID vaccine to help your body's immunity against the virus, which is certainly still out there. And probably most of you know somebody who's had COVID in the last couple months.
I have.
Yep.
I didn't think I'd get it. I mask. I use hand sanitizer. I do all the right things, and I got it.
Yep, the bug's out there. So the recommendations for the COVID vaccine have expanded and evolved. There is still the recommendation for a baseline series. So there are different recommendations for adults, and we're primarily focusing on adult vaccines today. If you have had a primary series with the old vaccines, then the recommendations are going to an annual vaccine once a year with one of the updated vaccines. There was a brand new one on the market called Novavax, which is good for that annual boosting. But the companies Pfizer and Moderna also now make an updated 2023-2024 annual vaccine. And these vaccines primarily can be obtained at this point through pharmacies, and most pharmacies have them. You need to check with your pharmacy, see if they have them in stock. And the good news is they can be given in conjunction with your flu vaccine and or your new vaccine for RSV.
Absolutely. And the updated flu vaccine is out there. And the good news is like you just said, you can get all 3 shots together. But the RSV shot does need a prescription from your doctor.
Yes, it does. So it's a little bit different in that way.
So you could walk into a pharmacy that had a supply of the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine and just get them right there, get them together, no problem. But RSV, you need to get a prescription, so you do need to go see a doctor.
Correct.
And they are doing something now where if you go see your doctor and talk to them about vaccines, they're doing what's trending called shared clinical decision making. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So there are many vaccines where there's specific age-related recommendations or requirements for when you get the vaccine. So everyone over age 65, it is recommended that you have a pneumonia vaccine. The RSV vaccine is a little bit different in that there's no clear age cutoff or initiation. It is indicated for adults over age 65 or older, but there are some people who are at higher risk of getting RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, and those people may want to get it in the younger range after age 60, and there's other people who are at higher risk. People, as we get older, we're more vulnerable generally to illness, hospitalization, death from these respiratory viruses. So the point of this idea of shared clinical decision making is to say, talk with your doctor or your healthcare provider about whether you're a good candidate to get that vaccine now.
So like me, I have rheumatoid arthritis, which is
a high-risk autoimmune disease that would put you at risk not just from the disease, but potentially from medications that you're taking that might suppress your immune system and put you at increased risk. In fact, Rachel, you're reminding me that one of my patients that I used to care for who ended up in the hospital with RSV was a rheumatoid patient. He survived that hospitalization, but he certainly was vulnerable.
So if you have something like an autoimmune disease, you have asthma, any other types of diseases like that?
Well, diabetes, kidney disorders, liver disorders, COPD, medications that suppress your immune system, or residents in nursing homes or group living situations are at increased risk.
That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people, and RSV is a serious illness. We know about it mostly in little children, and there are annual epidemics of RSV in children starting in the fall. But up to 10,000 adults in the United States die each year from RSV. So this is really a breakthrough that we can now immunize pregnant women and children and adults against this potentially deadly virus.
You know, and I'm embarrassed to say, I don't even know what RSV does to you.
Well, it causes a condition where you get inflammation in your lower airways or bronchiolitis. And so it may act like asthma, but it's really a different condition. And you get swelling in those little small airways that leave you short of breath, low on oxygen, increase your risk of getting other kinds of bacterial pneumonia, and it can be a very serious, scary illness.
You can't breathe.
You can't breathe very well.
Oh my goodness. So this definitely needs to be high on your list. If you have any of those risk factors or you are above the age of...
You can get it anytime after age 60. You should consider it. But certainly if you're getting up into your mid-70s or you have other risk factors, I'd sure encourage people to go ahead and get that vaccine. Vaccines, I want to mention, if you're getting several different vaccines and you don't want to get 3 vaccines all at once, then you should separate them by about 4 weeks. So if you've already gotten your flu vaccine and your COVID vaccine, maybe think about 4 weeks from that date to go ahead and get your RSV vaccine.
That would be a very good idea if you don't want to do that. There are also other vaccines out there that are important. The pneumococcal pneumonia vaccine.
Yes.
Definitely for people who are over the age of what?
Well, we immunize children, young children, with pneumonia vaccines, and previously that was called the Prevnar 13, and now it comes in a Prevnar 15 or 20. So little children get them. And then when you're over age 65, you should make sure that your pneumonia vaccines are current. With the newer vaccines, you can cover that base by just getting one vaccine, either this Pneumovax 15 or 20. Actually, if you get the 15, then you got to get the 20 or the 23 later. But talk to your providers about this. My belief and the recommendations from the CDC are that everybody over age 65 should have a vaccine against pneumococcal disease.
And that's pneumonia, and it can be complicated. So consult your doctor. And again, we're going to throw out this trending new phrase, shared clinical decision making. Your doctor is going to be able to discuss the difficulties of negotiating Prevnar with you and let you know which vaccine is going to be right for you and when it's going to be right for you. Because again, you can get that pneumococcal pneumonia before age 65 if you have risk factors for respiratory diseases or if you have an autoimmune disorder like myself.
Let me just mention that there is lots of information online about the different immunizations and vaccines that are available and the CDC recommendations on these things. And I'd make a comment that we have in our society people who develop expertise, people who study specific diseases and multiple diseases and viruses and vaccines. And we invest our money, our taxes, our social infrastructure into developing institutions that contain people, experts in these fields. And so it's a great resource to turn to the CDC, go online, read about vaccines from the scientists who study them and who have made these recommendations for us.
Absolutely. Another one I want to talk about is the Tdap.
Yeah.
Tdap is something that you get every 10 years, and it's actually kind of cool because it gets 3 vaccinations wiped out in one shot. And it's pertussis, tetanus, and diphtheria. Now, pertussis is actually whooping cough.
Correct. So the Tdap is part of the routine childhood immunizations, but adults also need to keep their tetanus immunity up, and the standard has been a vaccination with a tetanus shot every 10 years. You can now do that with the tetanus vaccine that contains pertussis. You probably only need one pertussis vaccine as an adult, but because it comes in many situations with the tetanus, you can get it along with your 10-year tetanus shot also.
So just takes care of that all in one shot.
Yeah, and we've heard a lot about the Tdap because of the insight in recent years that if adults who are around small babies who have not yet been immunized for pertussis in the newborn period, if the adults in those children's lives have had the pertussis vaccine, then we're much less likely to expose our little babies to pertussis, which is whooping cough, which is a potentially deadly disease.
Deadly disease for the babies.
Yeah, and for adults. I've seen some pretty sick adults with pertussis over the years.
So that is something, it's called Tdap, and it's something that you can get at your doctor's office. So I'm going to test your trivia knowledge a little bit right now. What American charity organization helped develop a vaccine for a disease and actually achieved eradicating the disease that it helped raise money to eradicate in America?
Well, Rachel, thanks to your help, I happen to know that the March of Dimes and its kind of parent organization, the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, helped research and, what do I want to say, launch the polio vaccine.
Absolutely.
Helped eradicate polio in the United States. And I know that Rotary was involved with an international effort to help wipe out polio by and large around the world. There still is some native polio that shows up. And so people who, for some reason or another, never got the polio vaccine, because there is still some wild polio out there, that's something to discuss with your healthcare providers, because there are adults who are eligible for polio vaccine. As we know that children are routinely immunized in this country, but if you're an adult who never had the advantage of having a polio vaccine, no time like the present.
Yeah. So that is one thing that they are pushing now. If you didn't get your polio vaccine, time to get it now.
Yep.
Another very trendy vaccine to get right now, I guess trending as far as vaccines is concerned, is shingles.
Yeah.
It's top of mind for a lot of people because that was the thing that hospitalized Dianne Feinstein. Senator Feinstein was hospitalized while she suffered tremendously with the shingles vaccine. That was not what eventually led to her passing, but it did put her in the hospital, and I'm sure it did not help because she passed only a couple months later after that. Don't you have to get 2 shots?
Yeah, the current recommendations is a 2-shot protocol. And let me say, shingles is a horrible, awful condition for some people. Some people get it and it, they live through it and it's not a big deal, painful. Other people have lifelong pain in the area of their shingles. Shingles is a reactivation of the varicella virus, which we knew as chickenpox, my generation. We now immunize children against chickenpox or varicella. So those lucky kids in that generation will never get shingles. But us adults who had chickenpox are vulnerable to that virus being reactivated and causing this condition we call shingles. There is a vaccine that anybody over age 50 is eligible, and it's recommended you get these vaccines. It's 2 doses that can be given 2 to 4 months apart. Some people get a little achy flu-like kind of brief transient side effect from that vaccine, but it's generally considered a pretty safe, low-risk vaccine in terms of side effects. And you have to get it at a pharmacy because the vaccine has to be kept in a very cold freezer. So check with your pharmacist and you can get it there.
I know you can get it here in town.
Yes, you sure can. let me mention too that all of the recommended vaccines by the CDC, all recommended preventative vaccine services are covered under almost all insurance companies, because that was part of the Affordable Care Act that said that recommended preventative services had to be covered by insurance without copays and deductibles. So if you have Medicare or Medicaid or private insurance, unless you have one of those wonky post-Trump insurance policies, your vaccines will be covered. Additionally, if you don't have insurance, most of your vaccines you can get through the county health departments.
And the number for the county health department is
248-3100.
And you can call Monday through Friday. They're lovely people. They would love to answer your questions. So give them a call at
248-3100.
All right. Thank you, Hope, for being with us today and giving us all this wonderful information. We love to have you here every year around vaccine time. Make sure you get your flu, RSV, and COVID shot. It's not just for you, it's for your grandchildren, your children, and your community. I'm Rachel Steele. You're listening to Local Voices right here on 94.7 KPIP, Fayette's local nonprofit educational radio station.